You're welcome.
All right, we're a couple of minutes out. Thanks, everybody, for doing the pivot with us. We had to make some last minute changes. Pedro, sorry you got demoted to the parking lot out there till you knew. So, but now that I see you're on screen, we're in good shape. So we'll start in a couple of minutes.
Are y'all seeing the links?
Yes.
Okay, great. I'm going to leave it up for a couple minutes so people can access the meetings.
All right, I can't see all of my screen yet with that up. So we're waiting for Brenda to sign on, correct? There we go.
Yes.
That's correct.
Okay. And I do know she was going to be virtual anyway today.
That's correct.
We'll give it a couple of minutes here. I don't want to make any real assumptions, but I'm going to guess that either Ann or Melody is checking in with Brenda.
Probably Melody.
Okay, Melody, that just put it back on you.
She's having trouble logging in.
We'll just hold tight till she gets on.
Sounds good.
Oh, yes, we had one more missing link. Hi, Charlie.
Good evening. How are you?
Good, very good. Good to see you.
Good.
We
It's
are
good to see
waiting
you.
to get Brenda signed on, Charlie.
Well, it took me a while to get signed on too. I didn't think I barely did make it.
We got you now. Don't go away.
I'm not going anywhere.
For those of us who are online or who might be outside, we're waiting for Mayor Pro Tem to get logged in. She's having some problems with a connection. So we're just going to pause for a little bit. Go grab yourself a beverage. You guys are all perfectly aligned like Hollywood squares in front of me. It's kind of fun. Well, looks like we're all on. All right. All right, I think we're good to go tonight. I see everybody on the screen. Melody, we good?
Yes, we are good.
Outstanding. Well, I'm going to turn the meeting over to you for the moment. Tell us about what went on tonight, little logistics, do the roll call, and we'll go from there.
Okay, awesome. Good evening. So due to a COVID exposure at the police department, tonight's BOC regular meeting for February 8th is fully virtual through Zoom. A live stream of this meeting is also available via our Town of Waxhaw YouTube channel. But before we get started, I want to go over a couple logistics. Please make sure to keep your video on and to mute yourself when you're not talking. With regards to how board members are going to participate in the meeting, the mayor will be calling on each of you individually to provide comments and votes. When voting, please remember to identify yourselves by stating your name and your vote. If you would like to speak at any point during the meeting, please raise your hand and be mindful of your background. If we are in the middle of a presentation and you are raising your hand but not being called on, please feel free to speak up. Most importantly, we want to make sure that all board members are able to participate in this meeting fully. So if you experience any technical difficulties, please text me. Next, we need to call the roll call. Please indicate if you are present. Mayor Ronald Pappas.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Brenda McMillan.
Present.
Commissioner Jason Hall.
Present.
Commissioner Ann Simpson.
Present.
Commissioner Tracy Westlick.
Present.
Commissioner Pedro Moray.
Present.
Thank you. All members are present. Mayor, I'll turn it back over to you.
Great. Thank you, Millie. Appreciate that. And appreciate everybody being able to pivot tonight. Just shows how flexible of a board we are when we got to deal with something. So appreciate all that. We're all in different locations than we originally set out to be, but this is still working. All right, so tonight we've got a little bit of reordering on our items tonight. So the first business is we are now called to order. And the next item of business would be any changes to the agenda tonight? Any questions, comments, changes? All right, seeing none up on the screen, I'm going to ask for a motion to approve tonight's agenda as published.
Make a motion to approve as published.
We're good. All right, we have the motion on the floor. We're going to go around the horn. Commissioner Westlake,
Commissioner Westlake, aye.
Commissioner Hall,
Commissioner Hall, aye.
Commissioner Simpson,
Commissioner Simpson, aye.
Mayor Pro Tem,
Brenda McMillan, aye.
back to Commissioner Morey.
Commissioner Moore, aye.
Very good. Thank you, everybody. We are approved. So if you please, again, the reordering of some of our items, if you'll please join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance and then remain standing for a brief moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. All right, tonight there are no general comments at all, so we're going to move right down to the consent agenda. If I could have a motion on the consent agenda to adopt as published.
I make a motion to adopt the consent agenda as published.
Very good. Thank you, Commissioner Simpson. All right, we'll make the rounds again. We'll go up to Mayor Pro Tem.
Brenda McMillan, aye.
Commissioner Morey,
Commissioner Moore, aye.
Commissioner Westlake,
Commissioner Westlake, aye.
Commissioner Hall,
Commissioner Hall, aye.
and back to Commissioner Simpson.
Commissioner Simpson, aye.
Great, thank you. We're adopted as published on the consent agenda. Don't see anything under recognitions. Am I correct on that? And no last minute changes on that? All right, very good. We'll move down to presentations. So at this time, we're going to introduce Travis Hardy from Strickland Hardy. And we're going to have a presentation on our audit. So Travis, if you can sign on and join us and unmute yourself, we'll turn the floor over to you. Somewhere in space.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. We don't see you.
How about
There
that?
you go.
Okay.
Nice car.
Thank you. I was actually driving that car.
Oh,
Let me share a screen real quick. All right. Can everybody see this screen?
not yet. There we go. It's coming on. All right, we can see the screen.
Okay. All right. Well, thank y'all for allowing me to present this this summary audit for FY21. And with that, we'll jump right in. Can you still see it? I moved it.
You moved it. Looks like you're going to do a drop down there, but wherever you want to go.
If you can see the screen, you can still see the report.
We cannot see the report. We're on your menu.
I got you. Okay. How about that? I'll go back over there.
That's where we are. I can see the screen.
Okay. Let's jump into this. This is a summary here. So let me hit some of the highlights on this this summary here. First thing I want to point out here is your basic financial statement did receive an unmodified opinion for FY21, which is the best opinion you can receive for an audit. Major program testings, we did not audit any major programs in FY21. The town did not meet the threshold for a single audit. But with that in mind, we were getting very close in FY21. So if the funding for federal programs sort of continued in the trend that it did, it's very likely that a single audit would come into play either in FY22 or FY23. So just something to keep in mind for the future. Here, are some reports or some schedules in the actual full-blown audit report that were considered required supplemental information. And it's listed here as the management's discussion and analysis and the town's share of the pension liabilities, and as well as the LEOSO liability and your contributions to each of those programs. That information is required supplemental information per GASB, but we do not actually audit that information. I just wanted to point that out. It is in the report. This information comes from outside sources that do audit that information, and we just glean from their reports the information that needs to go into your report. Just to let you know that. The other information is your combining and individual fund statements and schedules. That information is just supplementary information, and we do issue in relation to opinion on that information. And that's a fancy way of saying that we've reconciled that information back to the general financial statement. And as it says here, this information is appropriate and complete in relation to the audit of the financial statement. Just some fancy wording that we just don't actually issue an opinion directly on that information. And for that reason, and because some of those schedules are on a non-GAAP basis, I'll explain that in just a few minutes. The other thing I wanted to point out right here is deficiencies and recommendations. Material weaknesses, we had nothing to report. Significant deficiencies, we had nothing to report. And other recommendations that would be in writing, we have nothing to report. So again, just a very clean audit, very clean general ledger and financial statements as they will, as you will have a copy of those. And I do believe it's in your packet from tonight. Let's roll down a couple of letters that we are required to give to you, the board. This first one here is just some additional information, but I wanted to point out a couple of things. First thing, in the financial statements, there are accounting estimates. This is normal. GAAP approves this, so does GASB. And the two things that I wanted to point out are your depreciation is an estimated number, as well as the current portion of your compensated absences. So both of those, as you see in your audit report, are estimates, and again, allowed by GAAP and GASB. The next thing down here is misstatements. During the course of the audit, we always find some little thing that may be misclassified or something didn't get picked up at year end. And so we have to report those. Those are what we would consider a misstatement if it's a significant amount. But I wanted to point out that any misstatements detected as a result of audit procedures and corrected by management were, actually that should say were not material, either individually or in the aggregate to each opinion unit's financial statement taken as a whole. So basically what that means is once we get all these little changes that we make, we determine that those adjustments that were made were not material to the financial statements as a whole. So just kind of what that means in layman's terms. Nothing on this page really is significant, just some other little bits of information that's required for us to give you. And like I said, there for your reading, we won't go over each one of those. Nothing really significant or out of the ordinary. This letter here would be where we would list out in detail any findings that we had in the report. But since we didn't have any, this letter is really short. But I wanted to point out one thing is this paragraph right here. Material weaknesses may exist. Now, this is talking about material weaknesses and internal controls. those material weaknesses could exist and not be detected or identified. And that is in there just because we do sampling and we do certain tests of controls, but not all. So we didn't detect any, but we just want to say that, hey, there could be something out there that just was not identified. Just kind of a cover, if you will, for internal controls, mainly because we do not issue an opinion on internal control. All right, that's in a nutshell the summary of the audit, but I wanted to go through some sort of graphs with you and show you where you stand financially and monetarily speaking. This first graph here is your governmental fund balance broken down between your general fund, which is your blue columns there, and all other funds being your red column. And so you can see an increase in total of just under 6, maybe 5.5 million from 2020 to 2021. Your general fund specifically went up about $3 million for the fund balance. Just shows a very strong growth for the town and headed in the right direction as far as your trend. You can see over the past, 5 years went from just under 9 million to over 21 million. That's a huge growth in 5 years. This next graph, same information, just gives you a breakdown in what that fund balance is. You have non-spendable, you have restricted, committed and assigned, and then unassigned. And you can see here, your unassigned balance is really the ones that's important to you guys. So this is your the money that you have available to spend that's not already been restricted or assigned to some project. And you're looking at, in total, about, for your unassigned, about $9.4 or $9.5 million. We'll get to the general funds in just a minute, and I'll show you exactly what that is. Your revenue by source over the past 5 years, as you can see here, this blue column is your, basically is your majority of your funding source, and that comes from your ad valorem taxes, and followed by the intergovernmental, which is your other governmental funds coming in. So that just kind of gives you a picture of your revenue source for the past 5 years. This is that chart just giving you the numbers so you can see your revenue sources climbed up over the past 5 years from just under 11 million to just under 16 million. So again, a good growth for the town. Here are your governmental expenditures. You can see your largest is within your public safety, and followed probably by your general administration, your general government expenses. But again, just kind of gives you an idea in a picture form of your where your expenses are and where your money's going. This is just, again, the numbers that represent that created the chart. So just to give you some numbers there to look at if you'd rather see where that is and what that looks like. And here is your general fund balance, which I alluded to earlier. You can see here your unassigned fund balance for FY21 is just under $9.5 million. This restricted number here is really your state statutory amount, which basically equates to your accounts receivables that was on the book. So that's what that number represents. And this small portion here of $35,000 is your prepaid items and your inventory. That money's already been spent, so that's the reason it's sitting there as non-spendable. The main number again, 9.48 million right here, which jumped up from just under 7 million last year. So very strong for the town, and it just shows the strength of your town, and the trend is definitely going upward. This chart again shows your general fund revenues, and again the largest one is your ad valorem tax, followed by your intergovernmental. But just wanted to kind of break out your general fund revenue source there. And this again is the numbers that supports that graph. And you're isolating your general fund expenditures. Obviously, it's going to be your public safety here, and here again are the numbers that support that. This chart here is something I really wanted to kind of hone in on. This is your working capital, which is just in your general fund. But as you can see, there was a big decrease here between 17 and 18. Probably some debt was incurred. That was probably about the time you got your building for your police, if I'm not mistaken. It's working its way back up percentage-wise. But the main thing I wanted to point out was your percentage right here of 2,082%. Basically, what that means is your current assets are 2,000 times greater than your current liability, meaning that you have a lot of leeway to incur debt, more debt if you needed to, with no problem at all. That is obviously the higher that percentage rate, the better you are fiscally and financially. So you definitely want to see that number grow. But where it stands right now is incredible. So that again just goes to show the strength of your town and the sustainability for the coming years.
I have a question regarding that 2,000 and that number. What is a good number or good range to have what would be like an average for a town or community?
Yeah, to be honest with you, if you had anywhere around at 80%, you would be considered good.
You mean 80?
80, and you are at 2,000.
2,000.
So
Okay.
that's why I wanted to stress that number is incredibly high. So, and that is a good thing.
Right.
So yeah, y'all are in good financial position. Okay, that's really all I have for graphs. These are the journal entries, and I'm not going to go through each one of these, but again, as part of our reporting to you, the board, we have to give you a list of all the journal entries that were posted. Some of these things I will touch on real quick. This one right here that says remove prior year activity, that is just the way that Rosemary keeps certain funds on a perpetual basis. And so what we have to do is go in and back out all the prior year activity so that we're only looking at current year activity. So that's really what that entry there is for. It's just the way that she maintains the general ledger and how we have to report it for the year. Some of these other ones are just journal entries that are needed to clean up some things, get things in the right classification for reporting purposes only. So it's more of, it was there, we just needed to report it slightly differently. And some of these entries, if I can find the right ones here, these are journal entries. Okay. Some of these entries are where the general ledger doesn't have the capability to report certain things. So as as auditors, we come in and we post some journal entries to get from a modified accrual basis of accounting, which is what you're supposed to keep your general ledger on, and convert that to a full accrual base. And the financial software doesn't have the capability to maintain the general ledger at two different levels in essence. So a lot of those entries are for that purpose and that purpose only. So it seems like there's a lot of entries there, but in reality, there's the entries that are there are really just reclassing entries and reporting for reporting purpose. So just to let you know that. I'm at the end of my report, so I am done. Does anyone have any questions?
Any questions for Travis?
And just a reminder, Mayor, that we will need a motion to accept the annual audit.
Yes, absolutely.
But one other thing I'd like to mention, though, I just want to say that we all should be very, very proud. I know I am. I know Rosemary is, and the board should be very proud too. Take a lot of pride in the work that we've done in the last couple of years, putting ourselves in great financial condition.
And I will echo that sentiment as well. We've planned this. This has been something we've worked on since we all came into office here. We certainly can applaud all of us. We know things can change on us at any time, but in a 2-year period, you can see the results of all of our staff's effort, all of our team. And I will as well applaud all of you for a job well done, for keeping us above water and growing us, to allowing us to become as independent as we possibly can so that we can serve our public the best. So I want to say thank you to everyone, Rosemary and your team, certainly Jeff, everybody that works in those departments to make sure that we're looking at everything that we can, everything we know of. We know we've uncovered a few things along the way, but again, we are in such great shape that now we can actually work around almost any problem that might come our way. So we don't want to say that too overconfidently, but it's just a nice feeling to see these numbers, and I applaud all of you. Thank you.
I'd like to thank Travis too for 2 years now. He's been doing our audit and through COVID and everything. So I wanted to thank Travis and his company.
And Travis, I think you owe us a ride in that car. So, we're going to have to talk about that. All right.
Mayor, I
so-
think Jason has a question.
Yes, sir. There, Jason, where are you there? I've lost. There you go. Go ahead, Jason.
Hi, thanks. I think maybe my question is perhaps more for Charlie. It was noted during the review on page 3 that there will be a correction to the notes where procedures and corrected by management. It says in there were material, but it should say were not material. So my question for Charlie is, should that be noted in our motion that that'll be fixed?
Well, I am stumped because I don't really get involved with.
I think that we can just change. I think we can just change the wording because it was the auditor's summary report to you all. I think we can just put that one word in there and reprint it for you.
Let me just make sure everybody understands. This report that we just went over, the summary report, is not for public. It's not to be, unless you want to. This is just for you, management and board members. And so this is not anything that has to go out to the public or should be, unless you as a board just want to present that to the public in some form. So as far as that goes, I'll be glad to, or Rosemary, just let me know. I can make that small change and send you that report back.
Yeah, and as Travis is saying, I mean, it's just a summary of the report for our internal use today. I mean, obviously, this is public information as well, but it doesn't affect the report itself. Am I correct in that? All right.
Yes, sir.
All right. I think that should probably answer all the questions. Anybody else with a question, comment? Looking around my board of dreams here, I don't see any, so I am going to ask for a motion. Don't all rush in.
I'll make the motion to accept the audit.
Very good. We have a motion up to accept the
As
audit.
presented.
As
Say again?
amended.
Yeah, I would say it as, I would say the motion as it's written.
I missed that. You guys were talking over each other.
I think the concern is to have it, to make that motion as amended, taking into account what the Commissioner Hall mentioned with regard to the wording.
Excuse
Well,
me,
this is what,
that wording's not in the audit report. That was just in his presentation. So you're approving the audit, not his presentation.
Right, but the motion, if you read it, says to accept the annual audit for FY 2020 to 2021 as presented.
Correct. The audit. What he just gave you was his presentation, not the full audit. The full audit's 108 pages long.
Would the word submitted be better than presented?
I disagree. I think as presented, as it's done here is perfect.
But the audit report is what you're approving, not the summary.
How far does the changing of the word go into changing the actual document?
Not at all. The actual audit report itself is not what he presented to you tonight. He gave you a quick synopsis. So the word change is just in his presentation, not in the full audit. The full audit was in your packet for you to review. So that's what you're approving, the full audit, the 108-page audit.
I understand we're approving the numbers, but I think the Commissioner Hall's concern is the wording that leads up and presents those numbers and how significant the impact of changing those two words. It may seem something
They are
small.
two different, respectfully, sir, they are two different documents. They are two different documents.
That's why I suggested using the word the audit as submitted as opposed to presented. His presentation was just on the summary, not on the audit report.
Right. Now that makes sense. But all I'm saying is we're literally reading the words that were written to say for the motion.
Commissioner Simpson, would you like to revise your motion?
I will revise the motion. I make a motion to accept the annual audit for fiscal year 2020 to 2021 as submitted.
Very good. I see some smiling faces on there, so we got that. So unless there's any other discussion, I'm going to go around the horn. Mayor Pro Tem.
Aye.
Commissioner Westlake,
Commissioner Westlake, aye.
Commissioner Morey,
Commissioner Morey, aye.
Commissioner Hall,
Commissioner Hall, aye.
and Commissioner Simpson.
Commissioner Simpson, aye.
Very good. Again, well done, team. A nice job all the way around. The audit numbers don't lie. And Travis, we appreciate you and all your efforts with us. Charlie, thanks for piping in on that just to make some clarification. And Rosemary, certainly the same. So we are approved. And again, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, we'll let Travis jump off here. There's no items under public hearings, old business. We're down to new business. And we're talking about the large scale transportation projects. These are some of the things we talked about in our retreat. And so right now I'm going to have, I believe it's Theo to come online here. Theo is a town staff engineer. And Theo, there you are. I see you on the screen there. So I will turn over the floor to you.
Thank you. Can everyone hear me all right?
Yes, sir.
Good evening. Tonight, we will follow up on discussions from the retreat relating to large-scale transportation projects and what the town can do to begin work on these projects. Please feel free to ask questions at any time. Let me pull up my presentation. Okay, the town has requested a project proposal from Kimley Horn and Associates, who is Waxhaw's on-call traffic engineering consultant, for design services to develop functional plans and project costs. We will review the projects in detail later in the presentation, along with the cost to do this preliminary work. Kimley Horn will perform project management, traffic analysis, preliminary plan development, environmental review, and develop construction cost estimates. Developing functional plans is the first step in the design process. This work will be used as the foundation for developing fully engineered design plans. Functional plans are a preliminary alignment and begin to show the impacts of a new roadway or roadway widening, much more than just a line on a map. Functional plans are needed to provide accurate construction cost estimates. Knowing the extent of project impacts helps the town budget and prioritize projects, as well as identifying the budget funds and securing funding sources appropriately. One of the projects is Waxhaw Parkway West, which goes from NC 16 to Waxhaw Marvin Road at Helms Road. The proposed project has 3 lanes, pedestrian facilities, street trees, and street lights. Reconstruction of the existing asphalt will be incorporated into the design to meet future traffic needs once a connection is made. Design of this project will be coordinated with NCDOT's rail bridge project to tie into the future roundabout, which is being constructed at Waxhaw Marvin and Helms Road by NCDOT. The final connection that this project makes is beyond the scope of the NCDOT rail project, as well as the NC 16 widening. The existing road is a town road which does not meet NCDOT standards. This work will show what needs to be done to the Waxhaw Parkway to bring it up to NCDOT design standards, which would have the potential of the road eventually being turned over to NCDOT for maintenance once the project is constructed. Town staff has had multiple discussions with NCDOT and CRTPO about making the roadway connection, and the consensus is that in order to complete the project in a reasonable timeline, the town will need to be the lead agency for design and construction of this project. The second project is the North Broome Street Center Turn Lane project, which goes from the intersection of North Church Street and Broome down to the intersection of Broome and Howie Mine and McDonald Street. This project will provide a center turn lane along the corridor to allow for better traffic flow. Pedestrian accommodations will also be included as part of the project. Studying the corridor will provide an understanding of the amount of right-of-way that is needed to construct the improvements. As development occurs along the corridor, the town will understand where the right-of-way line needs to be to ensure that the road can accommodate the future roadway improvements. Third project, the Kensington Drive Pedestrian Improvement Project is considered a major project due to the need for a separate pedestrian bridge over the 12-Mile Creek tributary. A pedestrian bridge is needed due to the existing road bridge not being designed to incorporate pedestrian facilities. A multi-use path will be added along Kensington Drive to Connell's Point, where it will meet pedestrian facilities that are being constructed by another project, EB 5950, which is a grant that the town has through CRTPO. This project will also study alternatives for accessing a future greenway along the tributary. Another aspect of studying this corridor will be to look at the intersection of Kensington and Waxhaw Marvin. The current signal and turn lanes at the intersection were constructed as a part of developer improvements. The Waxhaw Marvin Road corridor study identified Phase 2 improvements that consist of additional turn lanes at the intersection. Phase 2 is not warranted at this time. However, determining a timeline for when the improvements are needed helps staff know when to seek funding and when to seek out potential grants for constructing Phase 2. The fourth project is the intersection of Waxhaw Marvin Road and Pine Oak Road. As you can see, the intersection is at a skew. Traffic along the road is anticipated to increase when Pine Oak Road and Prescott Glen Parkway are connected by developer improvements when the Prescott Glen commercial site fully develops. Two alternatives will be analyzed as potential improvements at this location. The first is a realigned T intersection with a signal, and the other is a roundabout. The total cost for all of this scope of work for the four project is $134,500. Staff recommends that the board approve the expenditure of these funds to help begin the design process. Are there any questions on any of these projects?
Any questions around the horn for Theo on that? As you remember, we had discussed this during our retreat and we gave the staff direction to move forward on this. And so this is the next formal step. So any questions?
Not so much a question, Mayor, just maybe something that we can clarify a little bit better for the folks that might be watching. This money is going to go to create functional plans so that when we get to a point where we can fund these projects, they're going to be well enough ahead where we can actually move in considerably less amount of time as if we had not taken on this this study. So maybe that's something that we could just explain a little bit better to the residents might be watching.
I can answer that question. I could jump in here for a moment, and Theo can help as well. So this will put us in better position on a number of fronts. It will allow us to better compete, I guess is the right word, for funding opportunities, whether it be through grant opportunities, state, federal, whatever. Also puts us in position to have, beyond just a line on a page, have an actual plan for that particular project that puts us in better position to seek funding, no matter what that funding source is. It puts us in position to start completing these projects. It is just the first step. There's a lot of other steps, obviously, to get to fully engineered plans. But the main thing is that it puts us in position to compete for opportunities or do these projects ourselves some way, whatever that is. These projects have been talked about for years, decades, even some of them, but no, that I'm familiar with, no effort like this has ever been done on any of these projects. And so you have to create this, number one, expectation. So when development does happen, that's where these projects are going to be. And that is what the cost is, and whatever their mitigation is to that, they can contribute to that project in some way, shape, or form. But most importantly, it, as I'll mention again, it just puts us in position to compete, whether we're paying for these projects through our own means, or if we're looking for financial assistance through other means. So, and Theo, if you want to chime in on that as well, feel free.
Yeah, I agree. This action helps these projects. It makes them viable projects. they become real, we can guess at how much they cost, but without actually doing this work, those numbers, they're more of a guess than anything. This makes those numbers more real. It also helps. It helps if we pursue grants, for example, through CRTPO. It shows we have an estimate that is accurate. As you heard from DOT, having accurate estimates has become more important than ever in that grant process. They look at how well did you develop your estimate. And this can also play into, as Jeff said, developer improvements, particularly like the Broome Street center turn lane. We need to see how much right of way do we need, because as development comes, if people are building too close to the road where these improvements would have to go, it's almost too late. It could be a missed opportunity if there's a building in the way of where the right of way line needs to be set. It could drastically increase the cost or potentially stop a project. So this is first step in making these projects viable. Absolutely.
Very good. Thank you, Theo. It certainly allows us to be prepared for what might come before us. And certainly in my role at the CRTPO, we see these things become more and more important on the preparedness of a municipality or locality to be able to understand and have knowledge of actually what they're shooting at to request funds if there are any federal or state funds available. So I think this, again, from the discussion that we had at the retreat, this is a next step. So, and this is a direction that we sent the staff out on. So any other thoughts, comments, questions from anybody? Oh, very good points, everyone. All right, seeing no hands raised, correct me if I'm wrong, but all right, we're going to ask for a motion. Somebody stand up and make a motion for this, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the expenditures not to exceed $134,500, develop functional plans and cost estimates for the projects.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Moore. I appreciate that. All right, the motion's up. Commissioner Westlake.
Commissioner Westlake, aye.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Brenda McMillan, aye.
Commissioner Hall.
Commissioner Hall, aye.
Commissioner Simpson.
Commissioner Simpson, aye.
And back to Commissioner Morey.
Commissioner Maury, aye.
Thank you, everyone. Again, we're heading off in the direction. We do the best we can on the planning with the informed and the information that will help us become informed. And this is that next step. So Theo, you've got your work cut out for you for the next steps. And thank you very much for all that work, both here and in the presentation that you did for us over on the retreat, all that information. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to move down to the town leadership reports. Over here, we'll start out with Town Manager Jeff Wells.
Thank you, Mayor. So 3 quick things for you this evening. Just a reminder that the North Carolina Main Street Conference is coming up in a month. It is scheduled for March 8th through the 10th. It was originally scheduled for a location in Statesville, but it has now been converted to all virtual. We have an early bird registration deadline of February 15th. That saves $15 on the registration costs, but you can register all the way up till I think the morning of the conference. So contact Ashley to register, as she will work to register all of us at the same time. The bridge steps are now open. That project, we're getting closer to closing that out. You'll see when you go there and experience it, it's a noticeable difference with the steepness. It's a lot better than the old steps. I think that'll make a big noticeable difference out there. So we're real proud of that. So we'll be finishing up that project probably in the next week or so with some demolition. And then since we have some good budgetary flexibility there, we're going to move over to the north side and do some step work over there. We're looking forward to doing that. And lastly, we have the construction schedule set for Downtown Park. Mobilization will start in early to mid-March. So during the seasons of spring and summer. That'll be pretty much the earthwork season, I guess you could say, part of it, where they'll be doing the clearing and grading. Late summer through the fall will be the utility work and the concrete and asphalt paving, with looking to have a completion date of phase 1 in the winter. So with the bids going out for phase 2 anticipated in the spring, that should line up pretty well. And so we hope that phase 2 could be done, if not congruently, pretty soon thereafter. So in about a month, you can look forward to things getting started out there. And just again, a quick thank you to the board for our quick pivot this evening. Thank you for everybody's patience and understanding out there. That's all I have.
Very good. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate that. So you're the only one tonight, unless there's comments from the board, because Miss Dina gave herself a hall pass. So she's off for the week. But any of the Board of Commissioners, any comments, thoughts? And I'll ask, seeing no hands there, ask Charlie, any thoughts for tonight? Anything you want to add to it?
Well, thank you, Mayor. I think that once again, the board has taken action that shows how well that the progress of Waxhaw is moving forward. So congratulations to the board.
I appreciate that, Charlie. It is, and just adding to it myself, a job well done to the entire team. We've been working hard at this for the last couple of years. We've put ourselves in a position to be able to accomplish things, and that's got to be very rewarding for each and every one of you, and certainly each and every one of the staff members. They can feel proud of what they've accomplished in every corner that we've touched so far. So appreciate all of your support, board, as far as helping us move these forward, certainly with the efforts of the town manager to help guide that. Melody and Barbie, thank you for your guidance again tonight. And I think we're starting to have some fun now. So we'll just continue this. We'll pivot when we have to, like we did tonight. And I don't think unless there's anything else, I'm going to move. There's nothing on the closed session tonight. So I'm going to ask for somebody to say how fast we're going to get out of here tonight. So I have a motion to adjourn. Oh, you guys just want to hang out. All right, we have a motion to adjourn from Commissioner Morey. We'll go to Mayor Pro Tem.
Brenda McMillan, aye.
Commissioner Westlick.
Commissioner Westlick, aye.
Commissioner Hall.
Commissioner Hall, aye.
Commissioner Simpson.
Commissioner Simpson, aye.
Back to Commissioner Morey.
Morey, aye.
We are adjourned. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of the week, and we'll all be in touch. Good night.
Good night, everybody. Be safe.
Hi, everyone.